Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Right Side Up. My name is Mike Taglavia. My co-host again this week, thankfully, is Allison Despathi. Allison, how are you?
I am good. Summer's been amazing. I hope everyone's enjoying. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it's
loving
been
it.
these past few days have been really, really nice.
Mm-hmm. The breeze, it's just awesome.
yeah.
Yes, I know.
So-
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Well, it's going to be another jam-packed show. I wasn't planning on covering this, but it just keeps coming back.
Yes.
And this affects my district, my county.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, ladies and gentlemen, you've probably seen somewhere. Let me find my article here.
I know. Very disturbing topic.
Yes, we have a high bailiff, an elected official in Orange County who visited Iran to, let me see the quote from this guy's X social media, to honor, salute, and pray for Iranian leader Ayatollah Khomeini. Okay, so this guy, let's get cut straight to the chase. This guy needs to resign.
Mm-hmm.
This guy needs to resign. His status, I don't know exactly what his status
Right,
is.
if he's a citizen or...
I don't know, but it
Right.
needs to be put under a serious microscope.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, there's a little bit of background here. The article that I'm referring to appears in Vermont Daily Chronicle, July 13, 2026. And there have been a couple since this first happened.
Yes, it's getting
he
a lot of
posted
attention.
back on
right.
July 7th.
Mm-hmm.
So most people in the listening audience remember Bill Huff. He was my co-host.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually the driving force for the start of Right Side Up. Bill Huff has had a young woman who was living in his town, who was a student of this Christopher Halali, who is the
Okay.
current high bailiff in Orange County.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Bill Huff. Everybody here knows, in the listening audience knows, I was elected in November of 2024. Bill Huff was one of my sign waivers at one of the town halls in one of my four towns, Corinth, Orange, Washington, and Vershire. I cannot remember which town he encountered these people at. I think it was in Vershire,
Okay.
where this guy apparently has a home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Bill was sign waving for me, and these kids, these young students, were sign waving for this Christopher Halali. He was running as a write-in.
Mm-hmm.
There was nobody. This is one of the reasons why we always are asking people to get involved. We had no Democrat candidate. We had no Republican candidate. We had no independent candidate.
Mm-hmm.
This was ripe for being, I'm going to use the word hijacked.
Taken. Yes,
Taken.
Taken. Yep.
Right. Nobody was there. So
Mm-hmm.
somebody sees these young students and they're advocating for this guy. Nobody knows who he is. But Bill Huff, being the conversationalist that he is, he started engaging these students. Bill's got kids of his own. He's got grandkids.
And these
Talks
students,
to
what
kids.
was the connection to the man?
These
Halali?
students were
They were
students
his
of
students,
his. He
yes.
was, as far as I know, I think I read, he was is a social studies teacher.
At one
Okay.
of the schools in town.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, how many red flags are going up for you? I've got all kinds of red flags going up. Sirens, you name it. So Bill engaged. He told me about how he engaged in conversation with these young kids. He said, well, sounds like he's a Marxist. Oh, no. They kind of denied it. And he went back and forth, politely and gently talking to him and trying to reason with him. And finally, after a while, oh, yeah, he's a socialist. So, we have people, democratic socialists.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're democratic socialists. The only thing democratic at democratic socialism is voting in.
Yes.
Okay.
Your
What happens when
tyrants.
you get it?
Right.
Okay. Look at Cuba. Look at Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
Look at numerous other countries around the world that voted in quote unquote democratic socialism, and look where they wound up.
Right, in the hole.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
look at how much poverty and death there is, how
Right.
much starvation there is. Okay. So this person is in a Vermont school in the United States of America teaching this junk.
Teaching and
Okay.
encouraging
And
Marxism.
it's
Right.
one thing to teach this stuff. Okay. Teach it based on, as compared to what? I seriously doubt, ladies and gentlemen, this social studies teacher was teaching anything with regard to, let me see, I don't know, Walter E. Williams, Milton Friedman, Thomas Sowell. Did any of this person's students get taught anything about the Industrial Revolution in this country?
Right.
How many people came out of poverty because of the advent of petroleum products?
Right. And capitalism
Being able to
and
drip
free markets
capitalism,
versus socialism.
free market versus
Right.
socialism.
And even historically, Mike, when you think back and you look at what China had done, what Russia had done, you think of Lenin, Stalin, Mao. I mean, those have all been completely failed experiments in socialism
Yes.
and communism
Yes.
compared to our country and what we had done with our Constitution. I
Yes.
mean, really big difference.
It's very easy to find. The problem is we have this hate for America being taught in schools. That capitalism is bad and socialism is good. The problem is these students, these young people, have never dared go to a socialist country and try to live as a socialist, a true socialist. They probably wouldn't or couldn't.
And there is a
because
big
we have it
difference
so good.
Right, and there is a big difference between corporatism and when you've got corporations, basically working with governments, which is fascism,
Yeah.
compared to capitalism and free markets and anyone being able to come in, start a business, and do
Right.
their work. That's very different ballgame.
Yeah,
Right.
and honestly, we don't have true capitalism, and we haven't had true capitalism in this country for, 100 years? Okay, so like what you were saying is we don't have real capitalism to compare against socialism. So these kids are only getting, they're not even getting half of the story.
No,
They're
we
really,
need the
truly not.
history. We need the
Right,
history.
we
But
need
if
the
that
history.
man was in there promoting socialism, promoting Marxism, when we can look around the world at all the failed times and the poverty and the harm that this has brought, I mean, that's not good education.
No.
That is a massive problem.
No, it's not. It's a recipe for disaster. It's
Right.
setting these poor kids up for failure.
Right.
That's the thing that bothers me. It's
And
setting kids up for
indoctrinating
yes.
them. That's not okay. Right.
How to think, not what to think, not how to think.
Exactly.
Learning how to think, how to reason through, learn from history, learn from the very beginnings of this country. Learn the difference between capitalism and imperialism.
Right.
Which countries practiced imperialism? Not the United States, like you've been taught. Not the United States. If we were imperialistic, Japan would be one of the United States now, wouldn't it?
Right.
So would Germany.
Right. And it's quite scary, though, to see how socialism and the misunderstandings of what socialism is and how dangerous it's been to many countries, and the sort of wave that's taking, like looking at Mamdani in New York and all
yeah.
of the supporters there. I mean, do people really understand the history?
No, they're going to get a history lesson in real time is what they're going to get.
Right. Unfortunately, that's not what we want. Right.
The city of New York is going to fall on really, really hard times. And, it's one thing to have a small village or a small town somewhere, but one of the largest cities in the world with skyscrapers,
Right.
where you're going to have neglected buildings that are going to be a danger to tens of thousands of people.
Right. And just the government control, like the government
oh, yeah.
coming in to try to control all that. I mean, that is communism. Come on.
Yeah, well, you
Right.
want food shortages? Let Mamdani's administration run the grocery stores.
Right. The government becomes the monopoly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. You want energy shortages? Wait. Well, you think it's hot now? Wait till it's cold.
Right.
Wait till it's cold, and people are saying they don't have heat.
Ask those in Cuba.
Yes. Yes. So,
Oh, my gosh.
But anyway, getting back to this, let's see, Christopher Halali, who has decided it was a good idea, and I think he's actually posted it. He's been to Russia. He's been to all these places that are adversaries of the U.S. Why? He's an elected county official in the state of Vermont. Why isn't he back here doing his job?
Right.
Why isn't he back here doing his job?
And is he saying, like, what are the statements and the comments that he's making?
Well, let me see if I can find some of these here.
Did he say death to America? I mean, was that actually a statement that was made?
Well, he's quoted as, we've been listening to the chanting, death to America, death to Israel, death to UK, death to England. And it's just, here it says he's quoted, I guess, on one of his videos, I'm an elected official and I stand with Khamenei and Iran.
Wow.
That's a quote.
Wow.
Okay. So
with the corrupt, dangerous, extreme government of Iran.
We're talking, look, we have this going on in this state. We had the breakdown between the majority and the minority parties in the State House. If you don't talk, you're not fixing things.
Right.
We have a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed. This idea standing with a violent regime.
Right.
Now, and I need to make that statement again, a violent regime. We're talking about the government, the controlling government in Iran, which has killed north of 30,000 people. Every time they rise up and try to throw off this oppressive government,
right,
there are mass deaths.
Yeah, and it's
mass
not
deaths.
the people.
That's correct.
It's those in charge who have the power.
Right.
Right.
Right. So
devastating.
Yeah, and there was one other thing I knew we talked about before we went to air, and now I've forgotten about it. I wanted to bring up. Oh, I can't remember it, but this individual needs to resign. I don't know what procedure there would be to actually remove him from office.
Probably a petition of some sort.
Yeah,
I think
but,
you'd have to get a certain percentage of the county people. Yeah.
So this, and thankfully there's an election coming up. So ladies and gentlemen, hopefully we will, and I've already started looking, we will be putting up a candidate to unseat this individual who needs, if he likes it so much there, maybe he should stay there.
And it sounds like he really needs to come out and make a statement and explain himself of why was he there?
Well, yeah, that would be
great.
What
does he believe? How does he feel about America and our Constitution and our laws?
Yes.
I mean, I think there needs to be real clarity around that. People are obviously concerned watching him over there supporting the regime. And where does he land on our country?
Right. You know, that I just remembered what we were talking about. Okay. I wonder how many people in the audience understand what Sharia law really is.
Yes, right.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness, nightmare.
What does Sharia law really mean, ladies and gentlemen? Do you know? Have you done a little bit of research? There are good websites out there that will give you an idea. I remember Ben Carson when he ran for president. He was asked about this, and there was a big dust-up over it. But he was absolutely correct. Sharia law and Sharia-compliant people, okay, Sharia-compliant Muslims believe that Sharia law is paramount.
Right.
Sharia law stands above the U.S. Constitution and the laws of the U.S. and the laws of every state.
Right. If you know anything about Sharia law, that is the absolute last type of practices and beliefs and ideology that we want guiding anybody. I mean, talk about abusive practices. This is Muhammad's teachings in Hadith.
Yes.
Abusive towards women. Yes.
So it's incumbent upon people to understand more of what this man is representing. Okay. And he's representing it, in my personal opinion, in a very shady kind of way. Okay? Very shady kind of way.
That's the clarity Vermonters deserve.
Yeah.
Right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you need to do a little bit more research about this man. I know there's a bunch of stuff out there, but also look into the teachings of what this man is following, because this is very dangerous. This is dangerous stuff. So, I've got to get my music here, if I can find it, because guess what, Allison? We've already burned through
hit our time.
We've already burned through a segment, so Ladies and gentlemen, we shall return after we pay some bills. You're listening to Right Side Up. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Right Side Up. I want to just spend a little bit more time talking about the last subject.
Yes.
This elected official who, in my personal opinion, has gone rogue. Okay, I definitely understand if I have differing opinions and different philosophies on a number of things, but this is a bridge too far. Absolutely a bridge too far. This guy needs to resign or be thrown out of office. And I hope U.S. Customs, if he's trying to come back into the country, has their time with him so that we can figure out, is this guy definitely a threat?
And the county definitely does need to demand a statement. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I just a little bit more about this, and then we'll switch to our next subject. This is one of the reasons why myself, Allison, so many other people harp on finding we need good candidates. We need candidates. And most people say, "Oh no, I'm too busy. I'm not qualified." Those are the two biggest.
Yes.
You are qualified.
Right.
You are qualified.
If you
With
have
respect,
ethics,
yes.
if you're
an
ethical person, right.
You have good character.
Right.
If you are a business owner, you've run a business, you've dealt with a lot of government agencies, whether you understand that or not. You've dealt with a lot.
If you just have your principles, if you're a principled person who will go in, do the right thing for Vermonters, respect our country, our state, our constitution, listen to people, then you're qualified. That's it.
Yeah, because I know we have had times when, as Republicans, we didn't have enough candidates to run.
Right.
Well, if you would like to see things change, then you need to have a race. There need to be debates so people can have a choice on who to put in office.
Absolutely.
To give you the kind of life you want to live in Vermont. So I just wanted to point that out because with candidates running, we could have avoided this.
Yes.
We could have avoided this. This was easy pickings. And this person who obviously doesn't like America, but has reaped the rewards and the benefits of living in a free country that is the United States of America under our Constitution currently.
Right.
Both of Vermont and the U.S. And this is trying to take advantage of our freedoms.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
So
plain and simple.
Exactly.
Plain and simple.
Call it what it is. It's important. Yes.
So,
good.
Okay, so our next subject, the governor's executive order on health care.
Yes. Okay.
Now, I know, Allison, I listened to you on another radio program the morning of the day that this dropped, and I was like, wow, that couldn't have been better timing.
Oh, yeah, our timing on that, right.
So why don't you take over this, because you probably have a lot more detail than I do, so we can go over how good this actually is, and it's a step in the right direction for what?
Yes.
For our next session.
Yes.
Getting
and
the right
affordable
people.
health care and getting Vermonters options and choices and something they can afford for health care. That's the mission. And I think at this time, everybody knows, like, Vermont is paying some of the highest rates. I think really, literally the highest rates in health insurance premiums at this time. It is absolutely out of control for all of us. I don't even have health care. My husband and I do not have health insurance at this time because we just can't even afford it. And so it is a big problem. And we also know that it affects all of our property taxes, right?
Yes.
So education tax is what, 3/4 of our property tax, and the health care insurance is through the roof for these plans. And how do we deal with this? And so, unfortunately, there is a lot of history here, but what the legislature attempted to do this session was they passed S-190, which they called reference-based pricing. Fortunately, the governor saw through it, saw how unfair it was. It was not a real solution. It was actually price caps on insurance that would have hurt our hospitals. And it was just a cost shift bill in the sense of you smash down some healthcare costs for insurance for certain groups of people on this side, but the healthcare costs for other groups are going to go up. And so it was a classic cost shift. It was very unfair. He called that out in his veto. And we did talk about this a little bit, but just recognizing this was not true reference-based pricing. And then what we saw happen after he vetoed that, well, one, keep in mind, the Green Mountain Care Board, our regulator in this state for healthcare insurance and our hospitals,
Yeah.
they already have the authority to do reference-based pricing. So the legislature coming in with this really unfair, unbalanced, hurt the hospitals plan, it absolutely didn't need to happen. It shouldn't have happened. So we need to sort of start there with why that veto was so good. And then we have to move into the fact that you keep seeing now so many Democrats, I hate to say it, you've got Senator Joe Major, who's a good guy personally, but he's coming out. Allie Richards, who's running for governor, Tim Ash, who's running for auditor. They're all coming out trying to call out the governor on he missed an opportunity for affordable health care. That was not any sort of a real solution. So thankfully, him and his team saw through that. And then where we've landed now is the recent executive order, which came out and to reduce healthcare costs. And this is an amazing step in the right direction, Mike, like you said, because basically what we've been dealing with for literally decades, since 1992, Vermont has lost more than 30 insurers because of policy. More than 30 different insurers have left the state
So we've
since
done the
1992.
exact opposite of what you and I would like to see
Instead
happen.
of
Open the
opening it
market.
up, exactly, and allowing options for the different needs for Vermonters, whether you're young, whether you're old, what sort of coverage you might want. So, and you always say it, go to the Green Books.
Right.
This
Go
is
to the
it.
Green Book and look, competition is going to force price controls. It will improve the quality because people will be able to compare policies,
Yes.
buy maybe a la carte policies, which we can't really do right now, which most young people really would be able to benefit from.
Yes.
And they would have health insurance, mostly probably like I did when I was young, just catastrophic care,
Right.
because that's really all you need.
Right.
But most of these controls came out of the Shumlin administration. Is that correct?
Well, Shumlin was when they tried the single payer, the
Right,
universal
okay.
health care, which was going to be billions, and Vermont was never going
Right.
to be able to afford it. But basically, a lot of these policies had been put in place to try to support some sort of a universal health care plan for Vermont,
Okay.
as well as the Green Mountain Care Board. But that's not been happening. So
Right.
instead of us having affordable, accessible, sustainable, viable health care, we have unaffordable, inaccessible, and we're looking what's happening with, we have limited insurance options, 2 major commercial insurers only in the state. Our hospitals are struggling, closing birthing centers. There's service cuts that have been happening. Many of our hospitals are actually operating in the red. And just to put this in perspective, like the way that Vermont has created policy, for a plan here, so say a family might pay like $1,200 for a health insurance plan here. They could have the same plan in New Hampshire and they could be paying $400.
Yeah.
Like that much of a difference because of our policies. And that's where we need to go back in, as you always say, to the Green Books, change that policy. And this is what the governor's executive order attempts to do. It really basically says to the executive branch and the regulators, in all of the authority that you have, here are some steps I'd like to see you take to reduce this high healthcare cost burden on Vermonters. And so it just makes so much sense because it's starting, like you said, to take some steps to open up the market so
Right.
that insurers can come in. And this also then brings me to, Mike, I was just and I may have talked about this last time, but I just want to reiterate, Blue Cross Blue Shield had an idea. They created basically an option where it was going to be a lower cost, higher deductible plan.
Yes. Yeah.
And they presented this to the Green Mountain Care Board. And they needed time to develop it. And the Green Mountain Care Board was like, oh, well, we can look at it in August. And Blue Cross Blue Shield was like, we need you to look at this now if you want us to get it together. So the Green Mountain Care Board really was the reason that potential plan for Vermonters failed. And that's something that my husband and I think many people in Vermont who can't afford insurance could have looked at. Like basically catastrophic. You know, this is a plan. I don't go to the doctor regularly, knock on wood. I'm healthy. I'm okay. You know, I can't pay over $1,000 a month for insurance.
Right.
You know, so again, you've got the Green Mountain Care Board creating problems. A lot of times, you know, people have referred to them as an artifact or a relic of this universal, you know, single payer health care in Vermont. So, you know, if we could get them out of the way, I hate to say it, but that would really be a real solution for hospitals. And if we can take some of these steps that the governor laid out in his executive order, then we could start to have some options for Vermont.
Basically two things. Get rid of price controls is basically what we have
Well,
now.
that's what the reference-based pricing was attempting.
And to use the governor's EO as a template or a jumping off point for making healthcare, giving us more options, number one, and helping to lower our costs.
It would, it reduces the barriers to allow more insurers to make it look appealing for insurers to come into the market to offer plans for people of different ages. And, you know, I might want a plan like in Vermont, just as an example, one of the policies is that every single plan has to have home health care, chemotherapy, some certain facial type surgeries.
You're buying
in there.
what you don't need.
Yeah, and that's where it's way beyond what the federal requirements are. And this can add 30 to 50% more of a cost on our insurance plans. And so if I knew, like, I'm younger right now, I don't want to have to pay more on my plan for home health care or chemo. But if someone wants that, they could have it as an add-on. But right now, it has to be a part of every plan. And so this is where you start to get into these much higher costs. And these are some of the things that you guys, obviously, in the legislature, could go in and look and see, how can we amend this? How can we amend these laws to make it more accessible and have more options?
Okay, so you hit on the key, the legislature.
Yes, it's you
This
guys.
is how, and I've said this, I've said it on social media, I've said it here, vote wisely. Know who your candidates are. We talked about this with respect to our first segment.
Yes.
You have to know who your candidate is.
Right. And what
Do
they
a little
really
bit of
know.
what is
they
their
know.
platform.
Yes.
Listen to what they're telling you. Listen to what they're telling you, because you know you just that's a name I recognize, but have you heard what their platform is?
Right.
Have you seen if they have a record, if they are an elected official already, and you see what their voting record is? Well, if they're voting for price controls and they're voting not to open up your market for healthcare,
Right.
then you know it's just going to get more and more expensive. So maybe that's not the candidate you're really looking for.
And you got to really sort of dig in, because if you have, and I've heard this repeatedly from, you know, Allie Richards, for example, she's like, affordable health care, universal health care, affordable health care. What does that mean? How do you get there? Who is paying for that? You know, like, you got to dig into the details, because of course we all want affordable health care, and of course we all want energy independence, but what does that translate to in policy and cost? And this is where people get swept up by propaganda.
Well, this, ladies and gentlemen, I'm holding up a piece of paper for those of you who can't see me on the podcast. This is not health care. This is a piece of paper that tells you what your policy is.
Right.
Your policy may not do for you what you need. So this is what Allison is talking about. And this is why so many people who are politicians get away with saying that.
Right.
Because they mean your policy, they don't really mean the health care that you want. They mean, we'll give you a policy. Well, if your policy doesn't suit what you need, what good is it? It's no good.
Right.
And that's basically what they're selling, because it's semantics.
And it's not a one policy fits all. I mean, people need different options based on healthcare history, based on age, based on, you know, current chronic disease status, health status. Exactly.
Allergies, everything.
Exactly. And that's where we need to open it up. And that's where I was just so happy to see the governor's executive order start to take steps. And the other last thing I would say, Mike, which is actually really upsetting, is the fact that he had to do an executive order to take that action, because the legislature, Democratic controlled, even supermajority controlled legislature, has had decades to try to fix this. Decades. And they They have not done it. So the fact that it has to come down to an executive order and Governor Scott saying, all right, I have given you guys ample opportunity and you have failed. Now we're taking some steps here.
Well, you know why he did that, okay? Because we were able to uphold his veto.
Yes.
That's why he did it.
Yes.
We did not have, ladies and gentlemen, we didn't have the numbers in committee to get a good bill out of the healthcare committee. We just didn't.
Right.
So this comes out on the floor. There's still a majority, so that's why it passed. It
Yeah.
didn't pass because I liked it. It didn't pass because a large number of us liked it.
Right.
It passed because the majority wanted it.
Yes.
That's why. It's
Yes.
not what you wanted, ladies and gentlemen. The majority in the legislature wanted it.
And we
So-
want you to have choices. And
Yes.
that's what this executive order will start to really create is more choices for Vermonters. 'Cause
Right.
Then maybe I could get insurance, Mike.
There you go. That would be nice.
It would be nice, let me
so-
tell you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got to pay for some more bills here. We'll be right back. You're listening to Right Side Up. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Right Side Up. My name is Mike Taglavia. My co-host this week is Allison Despathi. We will get back into our discussion as soon as I go through my usual third segment spiel here. If you, for some reason, can't catch us on Right Side Up Radio, on WNTK Radio, you can go to ntk.com, find the podcast button, click on it, and you can scroll down to Right Side Up and listen to any number of our shows. You can find us on Podbean. You can find us on 802 Scoop Facebook, 802 Scoop YouTube, and you can also find us on granitegrok.com. So, and I think it's rightsideUpradio@gmail.com, right? So, okay. So, our last segment, we need to cover something I thought we weren't going to have to cover for a while. We talked ad nauseum about 325, S325, which dealt with repealing the road rule, Tier 2 and Tier 3, and a bunch of other things that included some good amendments. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it was signed by the governor, so it is now Act 152 of 2026. Well, we were always wondering, what's the poison pill? Where is it? We didn't think there was one. We found it.
Yes, unfortunately.
So we have one regional planning commission. There's 11 of them, correct?
I think there's 11. That
I
sounds
think there's
right.
11.
Yep.
And one of them, Two Rivers Attaquiche, which is a part of my district, Vershire and Corinth, are in the 30-town region that is Two Rivers Attaquiche Regional Planning Commission.
Right.
And they came out with some planning language that includes a lot of musts and shalls. And
Which
ladies
are
and gentlemen,
regulatory,
yes,
right,
regulatory, which
right.
mean they have, and I've heard this in planning commission meetings more than one time. It's bordering on a dozen times at least. Those words give it teeth.
Yes.
Which meaning they have legal ramifications.
Yes.
Okay. So, Two Rivers Attaquiche took it upon itself to include a lot of musts and shalls with respect to planning for their 30 towns. Not good.
Right.
Not, in my personal opinion, it is not good at all. And there are a lot of people who have done a bunch of reading through it, and they agree.
Yes.
So, what do you think?
Yeah. So basically, as Mike was saying, so Act 152 is where we ended up repealing what everyone thought were the most egregious parts
Right.
of Act
The road
181.
rule.
Right. The road rule, the Tier 3 critical resource area. This was the major private property
Yep.
infringements based on maps that were never intended to be regulatory. So if someone all of a sudden decided, hey, by the way, we're telling you you have a wildlife corridor on your land, and anything you ever want to do here, you're going to trigger Act 250 and have extra cost and this sort of big regulatory burden to work through. And Act 250 is a good law. It has its place. Think data centers, telecom, industrial solar, big impact, impactful commercial land use development, but not private property if someone's going to try to put up a shed or, you know, do something on their land. And so those came through with Act 152 after a lot of work by the legislators, especially in your committee, Mike, House
and
Environment.
And a lot of work from
the people,
rural Vermonters, who found out what was going on, realized this was a major grab at private property rights.
Yes.
And a social media group exploded because of it.
Yes, and this was major infringement and overreach on private property, and this is where people just ignited. I mean, the Facebook page was Repeal Act 181, now it's Rural Vermont
Rising. That's correct.
Rising.
And there has been a lot of good stuff put on there, regardless of what some people have said. I have actually spoken with people from that group. I've met with people from that group. They worked in corporate America. They've been, college educated. They are farmers, all different
Democrats,
Republicans, attorneys,
people who own land,
people who are good stewards of the land.
Yes,
good stewards of the land. They know the value of the land. They want to keep the land as pristine as they can while still living on the land, while still making a living on the land, making a home, homesteading. So these people care deeply about the land. They care deeply about the environment, and they want to have their choice on what to do with their land.
Yes. So fortunately, everyone was able to work together, legislators and the people who were activated and tuned into the problem with this law that passed by the supermajority over the governor's veto in 2024.
Right.
But now we're looking at, it wasn't a full repeal of Act 181.
No.
So
and
Tier 1 was still in place.
Right. And we didn't do anything with the future land use maps.
Which is part of the Tier 1, yes.
Right. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where the problem lies.
Exactly.
We have rural conservation,
rural general,
yes.
Rural ag, rural forestry, enterprise zones, transition zones. Basically, you have these statewide districts that are being put in place through all the towns, through the regional planning commissions. And I'm a Danville Planning Commission chair. I'm speaking for myself, not for the Planning Commission in Danville at this time. Well, we basically looked at our future land use map presented to us from the Regional Planning Commission in our district, which is Northern Vermont Development Association. And we basically tried to make some changes. We knew there were some problems. There was nothing else we could say or do. We never signed off on it because we didn't agree to it. This was mandated from the legislature to the regional planning commissions. So we basically said, well, there's no other changes we can make. I guess there's nothing we can do. There you go. So every town is going through this process right now. And then what happens is the regional planning commissions are then putting together their whole plan for all these towns. And many regional planning commissions, they're in support of what the towns are doing in their town plans. But we have Two Rivers, which covers, like you said, Corinth
30 towns,
and
Corinth, Orange,
Vershire.
Washington, and
your
Corinth
district,
and Vershire. I have 4 towns, but only 2 towns are covered by Two Rivers regional planners.
Right. And this is where many people have read that plan at this point, which is in a draft form, and are saying, what is happening?
Why?
This is
Why?
major
Why
overreach.
are you an outlier?
Right. And why are you saying that, new development can have no fossil fuel, can just be quote unquote clean heat? Like, that's just not realistic, acceptable. It's not in their purview to do that.
Right.
Right.
Right. So this is taking away your choice of how to live. You want to build a home and not be able to use a petroleum product to heat, or I don't even think the wording is for backup. So does anybody have any idea what that does to your insurance rates in this state?
Right. And what if
it makes them completely unaffordable? Because I know somebody who's in the insurance industry and said, if you only have heat pumps, certain insurers will not insure you because they know that you will have a problem if there's a power failure.
And in certain
we never have power failures in Vermont, right?
This was the big freak out for the clean heat standard when people said, no, this is not going to work. So now you have this regional planning commission trying to come in. They're not elected. So this is where you get into accountability and oversight issues.
This has started to really enrage people.
It is.
So in a way, it's kind of good because we have an election coming up. So it's going to be interesting. I've stood against all these extra regulations. There are many towns that have virtually no zoning, very little, if any,
They just rely on Act 250 when needed.
Yes,
right,
they
right.
rely on Act 250 if needed. And there are plenty of people who chose those towns because of that.
Right, right.
And now we have regulation. There are people, I know people who live on Class 4 roads. They want to live. They've done their due diligence.
Yes.
They've done their research. And they say, I want a peaceful, quiet road that's more difficult to get down than most people are willing to deal with.
Right.
So they know it's going to be peaceful and quiet. They know that it takes a tractor or a snowblower or extra diligence in the winter to be able to
Right.
get in and out. And they
Right.
are happy to do that. And this wording says no.
If
That's
you
absolutely
wouldn't be able to
unreasonable.
do sort of a development off a dirt road. And this
Yeah.
is where people are, I mean, and even honestly, the Land Use Review Board themselves, in hearing this Two Rivers Regional Planning Commission, because they're the ones who are supposed to approve the regional town plans,
Yes.
they basically called it out and they said, you're using a lot of regulatory words here. How do your communities feel about this? You know, so they're acknowledging this outlier, this overreach, where
Right.
why are you able to come in, or why do you think you're able to come in and put this language in there and restrict people when it's
Right.
not in your authority?
It's not just a restriction, it's the time limitation on these planners to be able to do their due diligence, to be able to get it out to their people, not just their planners on their town planning commission, but what about the townspeople?
To the communities.
They need to be enlightened about what is going on.
Right.
We do not want, or do we, another Act 181 where all of a sudden this road rule stuff comes out and people are finding out that come July 1, it's going to cost exponentially more time and money to be able to do what you've been able to do for decades on your
Right,
land.
right.
So
And this is where I think it's also important, Mike, for people to remember or to understand that the regional planning commissions were put in place to support the towns.
the support role.
And
exactly.
the planning commissions in the towns.
This
to
looks
support
like
them,
role reversal.
Not to take them over,
Yes.
not to be the boss of them. And one of the big concerns has been is that now we are are we moving into this regional governance structure?
Well, regional and county governments. Ladies
Right.
and gentlemen, I've said this out in public all the time. I've said it, I believe, on the radio. I'll say it again.
Mm-hmm.
The further your government gets from you, the less responsive it will be
Yes.
to you.
You will lose
It's a fact.
any local control.
It's
exactly.
a fact. And Vermont is one of the few states that still has some sort of local control.
Right.
That's what we pride ourselves on. Why would we allow this to slip through our hands
Right,
now?
exactly.
There needs to be a big correction. In
and
my
more
humble
people are,
opinion.
again, it's starting to come out. And I think the other thing that's quite disturbing is that a lot of people have no idea this is in play right now, that
Yeah.
their towns and regions are going through this process. And this
Right.
is the time to try to make those corrections. So
Yes.
it's slowly bubbling. But again, it's going to be back at the legislature to put these regional planning commissions sort of in their place, so to speak. You know,
Yeah.
that's going to be in your guys' hands, Mike. Yeah.
Yeah. So, just ladies and gentlemen, no matter where you are in the state, you might want to find out what your local planning commission is doing right now with respect to their town plan, with respect to their regional plan. Get an idea. You can go on your town website. You can find your planning commission. You can go through a lot of the documentation. Wouldn't be a bad idea. Most have Zoom.
Yeah, and you
option.
could just ask for an update. I know
You
I
can
have
ask for an
people
update, yeah.
who ask me as the Danville Planning Commission chair, just what is happening? What's the status right now? Yeah.
So that maybe you've got generational land. One of the reasons why there was so much of an uproar with Act 181 and the looming road rule and the tier 2 and tier 3 mapping was with people with generational land. 3, 4, 5, as many as 10 generations or more.
Right.
And they've been able to virtually do whatever they want with their land.
And they had
Within-
concerns
within-
about what if I
yes.
want to subdivide to a family member?
There you go. Right.
Right.
To be able to actually live and stay in Vermont. And it's
Yes.
the last resort for a lot of people, but that looked like it was going to be even more expensive
Yes.
and possibly out of reach.
Yes.
So we have this again where it looks like the poison pill that we thought we averted apparently.
Averted some of the poison pill,
Some
but
of
there's
it-
still some left in there.
Well, yeah,
And
there is
poison is poison.
right. It looks like there will be and can be a legislative fix
Yeah.
if this was put into place by the legislature. It can be reversed by the legislature.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is the RPCs, regional planning commissions, have been empowered or put in statute by the legislature, and we can go back and look and change their jurisdiction or
Yes.
make adjustments to what they can and can't do, or how they can and can't help
Right.
with town plans.
And it sounds like there is a real strong need for that right now with what
Yeah,
we're seeing
it certainly
play out,
looks like it.
especially with Two Rivers. But yeah, I
Yeah.
will say it looks like the towns, many people in the towns of Two Rivers are activating to try to see if they can sort of put them in their place
Yes,
and stop
yes.
that level of overreach, which will
Yeah.
be really burdensome.
And I'm pretty certain there is a way for the Land Use Review Board. There's a review process, and if the Land Use Review Board finds something that they're not crazy about, or they don't like, or it's out of line, I think it can be kicked back.
Yes, they do have
And-
some level of authority over
And
that.
that would buy towns more time to make adjustments, which is a good thing.
Yes, yes.
So, but
I know
anyway.
we'll want to keep an eye on that for sure.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, obviously we need more time, but we just don't have it for this week. We hope you enjoyed listening. Please remember, stay safe, stay informed, listen to Right Side Up.